Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to a framework for using educational technology. I'm your host, Richard Byrne. Thanks so much for joining me today. A few little housekeeping things before we get started. First of all, there is 102 people registered to join today. So because of that, I have the chat turned off, but I do have the Q&A function turned on in GoToWebinar. So feel free to use that Q&A function at any time to ask me a question, to just say, hey, Richard, can you go back? Or to answer anything else that might come up. So feel free to use that Q&A panel. Number two, everything you see on my screen today is being recorded. This entire session is being recorded. So if you have to step away, feel free to do so. You'll get a recording emailed to you about 12 hours from now. And other than that, let's get right into it. So this webinar is going to be about half an hour, and I have three big goals for this webinar today. Number one, let's look at why people have trouble selecting classroom technology, some of the obstacles that we confront when trying to pick the right tools for our classes. Second part is to give you a framework to help you choose that technology for your classroom and give you some examples of how to apply that framework in your classroom, in your library, or in your organization. Now, a little bit about me. For those of you who aren't familiar with me, maybe your curriculum director signed you up, or your principal signed you up today, and you're wondering how the heck did I get here, and who's this person? Again, my name is Richard Byrne. First and foremost, I'm a dad. I teach high school computer science. Previously, I spent 7 years on the road working with schools all over the country, all over the world, really, to develop technology integration programs. I did a lot of professional development around those topics. And prior to that, I spent 10 years teaching high school social studies classes. I'm probably best known for freetechforteachers.com and practicaledtech.com. And besides being a dad, I am a huge fan of drinking dark roast coffee. Black dark roast coffee is my drink of choice, and in the afternoons, a little bit of seltzer. Let me know, what are you drinking, by the way? Use that Q&A function. Let me know if you are drinking coffee, seltzer, tea, or something else. Okay. What do we have here? We got some water. Lime seltzer. I just discovered lime seltzer. I was a huge fan. I'm a huge fan of this pomegranate cherry, but yes, this is being recorded. We got some soft drinks. Oh, that leads to a different question. Who says pop and who says soda when describing soft drinks, right? Iced tea? Cool. All right, good. Got a lot of things in there. We're going to have a lot of responses. Soda, right? I used to say soda pop. Oh, from South Africa, major coffee drinker from South Africa. Awesome. All right. So let's get into it. One thing I want to share is just my thought on things being, well, closed, or all of our plans because of COVID-19 getting changed for the summer. You know, a lot of my summer plans included some travel, included going to ISTE, included going to a couple of smaller conferences closer to my home here in Maine. And of course, all those got canceled. But that has given me the great opportunity to do some other stuff online that I might not have gotten to do. I'm taking a course in Python later this summer that I probably wouldn't have gotten to do, or wouldn't have had the time to do the way I wanted to if I was traveling and going to those conferences. So, you know, try to look at things as glasses half full as much as I can. And to that end, I kind of have three agreements that I always try to start webinars with. And that is, technology offers great opportunities to kids. Things that you and I couldn't do when we were in school 25, 30, 40 years ago, right? Kids have great opportunities today, more than we did. We all of us here want what's best for kids, and we all need to take care of ourselves in order to be good teachers. And part of taking care of ourselves is trying new things and going and doing some online professional development like this. Right? So here's the problem. The problem that I see with a lot of teachers who are trying to use technology, a lot of, the big problem I'm always trying to solve for people is that there's too many choices. They don't have enough time to figure out what should I use, what shouldn't I use. And that comes back to a lack of having a clear framework on how to make those choices. If you have a good framework, those choices are a little easier to make, and they don't take you as much time as if you were to just try to randomly guess, right? Or dabble here and there, right? So having that good framework really does help. And, I came across this. It's something I've been doing this for 12, 13 years now. It's been 13 years that I've been doing professional development around educational technology. Really, the framework idea comes back to you need some clarity, gives you some clarity, gives you some direction, and in the long run, it saves us time. This all came to me, kind of my origin story of how I came up with this framework I'm going to talk about today. Came from this question from my friend Katie. And Katie is truly one of the people that really helped me out when I got started teaching. She's a little bit older than me. Great English teacher. Was very, very helpful to me early in my career. But she was not a technology person. She was not a tech person. She was a language arts teacher. And she came to me one day after I'd been doing some things with my own classes around building wikis. Right, this is going back quite a ways when wikis were kind of a new thing. Right? Who remembers when wikis were a new thing? Well, she came to me with this question: can you help me with one of those blog wiki website thingies? She knew she needed one of those things. Wasn't quite sure what to do with it. She just knew that kids were talking about it. My students were talking about it. Other kids in schools, other students were talking about it in our school. And she wanted to know, can I help you? Can you help me make one of those things? Right? You ever gotten a question like this? You ever had a colleague ask you this kind of question? Can you help me make one of those things? Can you help me? I'm not quite sure what I need to do, but I know I need to do something. Right? If you've gotten that, put that little hand, use that little hand icon in the GoToWebinar chat. Just boop, do that little hand icon. Yeah, okay, good. Right? Yeah. All right. And sometimes you're the one asking the question, right? And that's true, right? Sometimes I'm still asking those questions. Right? I'm teaching computer science. This past year, I taught computer science for the first time. I've been asking a lot of those kinds of questions, like, like trying to sort some of this stuff out still, right? So, but this is where I realized that I needed to have a framework that people could easily apply when they're asking those questions about technology. And it came back to, what do you want to do? Why do you want to have that blog? Why do you want to have that wiki? Why do you want to have that website? Or why do you want to make a video? Or why do you want to have kids do a search lesson? Always comes back to that. Why do you want them to do that? Why do you want to do this? So having that framework is really helpful. And I can see that question there. Oh, greetings from Greece. Excellent. Thank you for joining us. So here's the framework. And it's really pretty simple. It's 3 parts. Just discovery, discussion, and demonstration. I have found over the course of more than a decade now that educational technology always fits into one of these 3 categories. And sometimes it fits into all 3. And that's when you really have a winning product. Right? That when the technology tool can do all 3 of these things, help kids discover, help kids discuss, and help kids demonstrate, that's when you've got a real winning product on your hands. Things like Flipgrid get really popular because they can be used for all 3 of those purposes. Right? But even if they can only be used for one of those purposes and do it really well, it can still be a really good tool. Okay? So here it is in a little different format. Discovery, using tech to find and learn new things. Discussion, using the technology to engage in these discussions and these skills practices in ways that we couldn't do in the past. And then the demonstration piece, this is where I get really excited about technology, is kids can make things that we as students, as we could only dream about. And now kids can actually make a lot of really, really cool and interesting things to demonstrate their knowledge and demonstrate their skills. Let's start here with the idea of discovery. Now you think about discovery, we often think about it as just being Google search, right? But it could also be TikTok and YouTube. You think about how kids are using technology on their phones all the time, right? In TikTok, what are they doing? Well, they're discovering things for sure. In fact, I was just listening to a podcast this morning with Guy Kawasaki and Gary Vaynerchuk, who are kind of two well-known people in the technology venture capital space. They're talking about how a lot of people are using TikTok not just for silly little dances anymore, but to actually put out instructional content. YouTube in the same way, right? People are discovering things through those platforms. And of course, they still use Google. So we got our Google, we've got our virtual reality and augmented reality. Who's got one of these? Who has one of these merge cubes? They became really popular a few years back. So the merge cube, augmented reality, another interesting way for kids to discover things. Or virtual reality, and I love virtual reality. I love using the Google Expeditions, a little Google Cardboard viewer, dropping the phone in there and letting kids go on discoveries of interesting places all over the world. And with Google Expeditions, you can guide them through that process. They're discovering things in new ways all the time. But I want to get back to Google for just a moment. A lot of our students think they know how to Google, but they really don't. If you've ever had a kid come to you and say, Mr. Byrne, Google has nothing on this, you know that they probably don't know how to really formulate a search. And just teaching kids a couple of quick little tricks can send them off on a whole new level of discovery that they might have never found. So let's talk about a quick way to do that. So I want to bring up on my screen here a little Google search. So let's just do this quick little one here. Something about the War of 1812. Now, obviously a very generic search with millions of results. Right? Millions, even if I did something like causes of. Still going to get 6.4 million results. So one of the little things that you can do with students, besides teaching them search phrases, encourage them to use advanced search to change the file type that they're looking for. By default, Google is going to have kids finding just web pages, right? But let's say PDF. And now we're finding just PDFs related to the War of 1812. And the reason you do that is because PDFs typically don't rank very highly in a generic Google search. But by saying, look for that file type of PDF, now we're looking at different sets of results, different things. Go back to that advanced search. You could do a site or domain search for .ca, which is Canada's top level domain. For my kids here in the United States, that might give them a different perspective than just using the default of whatever Google suggests to them. So now I've combined these to say, I want PDFs from websites that are published and hosted in Canada. And you can combine multiple factors in here. You could also go in and look for usage rights, right? But one other quick little trick here in this site or domain, if you're in the US, if you're a person here in the United was with me today and you're in the United States, every K-12 public school in the US has access to a .k12.yourstate.us domain. So in my case, it's .k12.me.us because I live in Maine. I've now narrowed it down to only PDFs from websites published in the state of Maine by K-12 schools. So you can really narrow it down and give students the opportunity to have different results than just doing generic search. And doing little things like that can help them discover new things. Moving on to the discussion. This is where we use the technology to engage kids in conversations, to have them have a back and forth with their classmates in a structured manner, in a school-friendly manner. This could be our Backchannel Chat, and I'll show you a Backchannel Chat tool in just a moment here. This could be your polls and games, your Kahoot games, or your poll everywhere polls, those sorts of things, where you're gathering some data from kids. And it might be in a fun way. Kahoot can be a lot of fun, but as a teacher, you can also gather a ton of data about your students and what they know that you can then use to formulate classroom conversations about the parts of the quiz that they all missed, or the parts of the game that they all missed. Right? It doesn't feel like they're taking a quiz, it feels like they're playing a game. Or you can do the video and audio response. Flipgrid is very, very popular right now because you can do a video prompt and students respond with a video. A similar tool for audio only is called GoSynth.com, and I'll put that in the link. I'll put that link in the chat here. It's called GoSynth.com, and it's like Flipgrid but audio only. I'll put that link right in there. Let's talk about this Backchannel Chat idea for a moment. So I used to use a tool called Today's Meet many years ago. Today's Meet was a fantastic tool that would let you create a little chat room where your students could respond to your questions, or they could ask questions of their own. It was a free service and it ran for many years, and the person who ran it pretty much just got tired of it and shut it down a couple of years ago. I used to use it a lot when I would show a video clip in my class. Again, being a social studies teacher, I kind of use a lot of video clips. And I would show a video clip in my classroom on the whiteboard in my classroom, or the LCD screen in my classroom. And all of my students, I was fortunate to have one-to-one classrooms where we either had Chromebooks, netbooks. At one point we had some old MacBooks, then Chromebooks. So I was always lucky in that regard that we were one-to-one. And I'd put that up on the screen and I'd have that back channel chat going where students could ask questions about what was happening in the video. There's many other ways to use this. And the modern version of this is a site called YoTeach App. You'll find it at yoteachapp.com. I'll put a link to it in the chat for those who would like it. By the way, I'm going to give you a copy of these slides at the end today too. But yoteachapp.com, I'm going to just call this one Mr. Burns Room on June 6th, 611. And for the sake of my demonstration today, I'm not going to enable any password requirements or admin features. Just going to create the room. And now, with this room created, and I'll put the link there in the GoToWebinar chat for people who want to try it out live. This room created, I can give people this link. You'll see there's also the option to give people a QR code. So you can scan that QR code and you could use this on your phone or your iPad. There it is. But here I can say, hello, class. Please use this space to ask clarifying questions. And to answer questions from the teacher and classmates. So this is one of those tools that I'll keep running over the course of a class period. And this is really great if your students are working in small groups. You know, you've got a big activity going. In my own class this year with my computer science students, they were often working in groups of 2 or 3 and spread out across the room. And rather than running around like a chicken with my head cut off all the time, I'd have them put a question into the chat. That way I could answer it in text format. I could also walk over and see them if needed. And there was a record for other kids to see what kind of questions their classmates were asking. Now you can do more than just text with this. You'll see there's some options here for a little whiteboard space. There's also an option here for drawing. And I can do a little something like this. So I can do something like that. So I can do those kinds of little messages. I can even include a picture that I upload from my computer if I wanted to. Right? I can include that picture of a panda bear that I have on my desktop right now. And so I have that little picture in there now. So you can use this to facilitate that discussion. And one of the things that I like about it is, as I alluded to there, it creates a record of what did your classmates ask? You can see what your classmates have asked. There's a lot of times, you know, in a classroom, one student asks a question and some of the other kids maybe aren't paying attention. You ever have that happen? Am I the only one? I can't be the only one that has that happen. It's a great way to facilitate that discussion and keep a record of that discussion going. And now we come to demonstration. And the demonstration piece when it comes to technology is a wide open field right now. This could be something like a digital portfolio. This could be making videos and podcasts. It could be making an app. It's easier today than ever before to make an app. You can use tools like the MIT App Inventor or Glide apps, both are Tinker, T-Y-N-K-E-R, all make it very easy. I shouldn't say very easy, but all make it, all those tools make it possible for kids to create their own apps today. You can have kids build their own virtual tours today. There's great tools for that, like the Google's VR Tour Creator is great for that. Have kids develop a website. I had some kids this past semester who are trying to make their own Internet of Things devices. The possibilities are really endless for what kids can make to demonstrate their knowledge, their understandings of concepts. And one of the things I really get excited about for all classes is making videos. Because making a video I find to be something that kids in general get excited about. It's something that's easy to share. It in many ways takes off the pressure of writing. And I want to show you a tool that does both digital portfolios and videos in one place, and that's Seesaw. If you're not familiar with Seesaw, you can find it at seesaw.me or app.seesaw.me. And it's available to use on any device. You can use it on an iPad, a Chromebook, Android device, anything that has a modern web browser, you can use Seesaw. And you can create a classroom. You can see right now we're looking at Mr. Burns' 2020 demo class. One of the many things kids can do in here is make a video. And we'll see here, I'm just gonna hit the add button. And a student can make a simple whiteboard video right in here by clicking on the drawing button. Hit that microphone button over here. And now they're recording a whiteboard video, and they can say, Mr. Byrne, in today's lesson, I learned that 2 plus 2 equals 4. And I learned that 2 minus 2 equals 0. And then they stop the video by clicking done. And they save it. And it's a quick, easy way for kids to make a video and have it go right into their digital portfolio at the same time. Fantastic way to have kids demonstrate what they know about a topic. Now, this might seem simple, but when you bring these 3 ideas together, discovery, discussion, and demonstration, that's when you can get a really great project. When you have kids use technology to discover something new, use that technology piece to have a discussion about it. Now, I gave you just 3 tools today. I did demos of just three things today, but there are many tools for discussion out there. Even having the comments in Google Docs while kids are sharing their notes when they were researching is a great form of discussion. And then they do that demonstration piece where maybe they make a video, or maybe they build an app, or they even put together a short podcast. Doing all 3 of those things, that discovery, discussion, and demonstration, is when you get a really great project. Now, if you feel like this is still drinking out of a fire hose or drinking out of a garden hose, and you're trying to, you're like the little dog trying to grab hold of that fire hose, I'll give you a little demonstration of how this works in practice. Pick your own favorite tool, whatever it is, and try to think of 3 activities you can do with it. See, when or if you don't have a favorite tool, maybe you're considering something that you just saw. Maybe you're on a website like Product Hunt, which is one of my favorite websites. So I'll show you how I approach much of my blogging and much of my thinking about technology. I go to this great site every day called Product Hunt. You'll see it right there. I'll put the link in the chat as well. And I'll just scroll through every day and look to see, what's new, what's interesting. And if I find something that seems interesting, like this one, edit any website, no code required. Looks kind of interesting. Oh, okay. It's a Chrome extension. All right, let's go and look at it in a little more detail. Edit any website, no code required. Costs $15 as it turns out. Didn't know that until I just clicked on it. I literally just clicked on it for the first time right now. This is a live demo. But as I think about this, as I read through this, I'm thinking to myself, this could help students understand how websites are made, how different functions on a website are coded. Could be a really interesting tool in that way. Now, so I could have students discover the way that websites are built through this, or discover pieces of code by using this tool. I might have them then share their notes in a Backchannel Chat, or share them in a shared Google Doc and have a little discussion about it. And then maybe I'll have them try to demonstrate how some of that code works in their own websites that they build. That's just a how I think about using technology in this framework. So again, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to try every tool under the sun. Just when you look at a tool, think about how might it help kids discover something? How might it help them facilitate discussion or help you facilitate discussion? And then, what would the demonstration piece look like? That's really how I approach this all the time. And that's the process that I use in coming up with the topics for the Practical EdTech Virtual Summer Camp, which I'm doing in June and July. The June session is full, but there's 2 July sessions still available. We talk about 10 big topics in the Practical EdTech Virtual Summer Camp. There's 10 one-hour webinars, and they all use that same framework of discovery, discussion, and demonstration. Now, we go into a lot more detail on all of these topics in those webinars, but it still uses that same framework all the way through. If you're interested in joining me for that, the sessions that are still available are July 6th through 10th and July 20th through 24th. There is a group discount if you have 5 or more people from your school district who would like to participate. There is a group discount, and recordings of all the live webinars are also available if the schedule doesn't work quite right for you. You can find more information at bit.ly/2020vert summer camp, or just go to practicaledtech.com. And if you would like a copy of today's slides, here's a, I just went off the one, there it is. A copy of today's slides can be found at that link that I'm putting in the chat right now, which is bit.ly/JuneDDD, and you'll get a copy of, you can get a copy of these slides right there. I'm also going to be sending an email to everyone who registered, and in that email you will have a copy of the slides and a link to the recording of today's session. So thank you so much for joining me today. I know this was a quick half-hour webinar. Tried to keep it short and sweet for you today. I appreciate it. Thank you, Kim. Thanks for joining me today. If you have any questions for me at all, feel free to send me an email. richard@byrne.media is my email address. And I do answer all of my email every week, although sometimes I don't get to all of it until Friday, but I do answer all of my email. So thank you so much. Have a great afternoon, evening, or morning, wherever you are. Thanks, everyone.